Hi everyone, welcome back to the AI Revenue Engine Masterclass Series. Over the past three sessions, we've explored how to turn AI investments into business results, design workflows that support execution, and build organizational capabilities at scale. Today's session takes the next logical step. Once AI is deployed across the organization, how do leaders know whether it's actually working? More importantly, how do they know whether it is creating measurable business value? Those are very different questions, and answering them correctly can significantly influence future investment decisions. I'm Bhuva Shakti, an AI adoption and automation advisor. I help companies use AI to grow revenue with less friction by improving workflows, operations, governance, and decision making. Throughout nearly 3 decades of leading transformation initiatives, I've noticed a recurring pattern. Organizations often become very good at measuring technology, but much less effective at measuring business performance. Executive dashboards are filled with technical indicators, yet leadership teams still struggle to answer one fundamental question. Are we creating more business value than we were 6 months ago? Here are the five themes for today. Business value matters most. Activity does not equal success. Metrics shape better decisions. Outcomes drive investment. And measurement enables growth. One of the biggest mistakes I see organizations make is look impressive because they report hundreds of metrics. They confuse activity with value on executive dashboards. Leaders see increasing AI usage, high model accuracy, thousands of automated transactions, or growing number of employees using new tools. These indicators suggest progress, but they don't necessarily demonstrate that the business is performing better. Activity measures what happened, business value measures what it mattered. Throughout my career, I've worked with organizations that proudly reported AI adoption rates above 90% while simultaneously struggling with declining customer satisfaction, rising operational costs, or stagnant revenue growth. The technology was working exactly as designed, employees were using it consistently, yet the organization was not achieving the business outcomes that justified the investment. The problem wasn't implementation. The problem was that leadership was measuring activity instead of impact. Business value is measured differently. Executives should ask whether AI is helping the organization grow revenue, improve profitability, increase productivity, reduce operational risk, strengthen customer relationships, or improve decision quality. These are the outcomes shareholders, customers, employees, and boards ultimately care about. AI should contribute to measurable business performance, not simply generate more operational data. Technology metrics explain how the system performs. Business metrics explain how the organization performs because of the system. Another lesson I've learned is that metrics drive behavior. Employees naturally focus on whatever leadership chooses to measure. If the success is defined by the number of AI prompts submitted or workflows automated, teams will optimize for activity. If success is measured through customer outcomes, operational improvements, faster decisions, or revenue growth, employees begin making decisions that create lasting business value. Good metrics don't just evaluate performance, they influence it. One question I encourage every executive to ask is, if we removed every technology metric from our dashboard tomorrow, would we still know whether AI is improving the business? If the answer is no, then the organization is probably measuring the wrong things. Technology metrics should support business conversations, not replace them. High performing organizations always begin with business outcomes and use technology metrics only to explain how those outcomes were achieved. Once leaders understand the difference between activity and business value, the next challenge becomes deciding what to measure. This is where many organizations struggle. They often begin with whatever data is readily available instead of starting with the business outcome they are trying to achieve. Throughout my career, I've encouraged leadership teams to reverse that thinking. Don't begin with the dashboard, don't begin with the technical metrics. Always begin with the business objective. Ask yourself, what business problem are we trying to solve? The answer should determine every metric that follows. Every AI initiative should support one or more strategic business objectives. These objectives might include increasing revenue, improving customer retention, reducing operational costs, accelerating decision making, and improving employee productivity or reducing risk. One of those priorities are clear, then executives can identify the specific metrics that demonstrate progress towards those outcomes. This approach keeps AI aligned with the business strategy instead of becoming another disconnected technology initiative competing for attention and resources. Another important lesson I've learned is that organizations need both leading indicators and lagging indicators. Leading indicators provide early signals that the organization is moving in the right direction. Examples include employee adoption, workflow completion rates, process cycle times, or customer engagement. Lagging indicators confirm whether those efforts produced meaningful business results, such as revenue growth, profitability, customer retention, operational efficiency, or reduced risk. Organizations need both perspectives because one predicts future success while the other validates whether success was actually achieved. Executive scorecards should also remain simple. One mistake I frequently see is dashboards containing hundreds of metrics that overwhelm decision makers rather than helping them. Senior leaders rarely need more data. They need greater clarity. In most organizations, 5 to 10 carefully selected business metrics are more valuable than 50 operational reports. Effective scorecards should immediately answer three questions. Are we creating value? Where are we falling behind? What decisions should leadership make next? If a dashboard cannot answer those questions, it is probably measuring too much. Finally, measurement should never become a quarterly reporting exercise. High performing organizations treat measurement as a continuous learning process. They review outcomes regularly, compare experienced and expected performance with actual performance, gather feedback from employees and customers, and refine both their AI initiatives and their measurement framework over time. As business priorities evolve, the scorecard should evolve as well. Organizations that continuously improve how they measure success consistently make better investment decisions because they learn faster than their competitors. One question I hear frequently from executives is, if technology metrics are not enough, what should I actually measure? My answer is that every AI initiative should ultimately be evaluated using business metrics that reflect organizational performance rather than system performance. While every company will have its own priorities, I've found that most executive scorecards can be organized into five categories: revenue, productivity, customer outcomes, risk, and people. Together, these provide a balanced view of whether AI is creating meaningful business value. The first category is revenue because sustainable growth means the ultimate objective for most organizations. AI should contribute to measurable improvements such as increased sales, higher customer retention, larger average transaction values, improved cross selling opportunities, or faster product launches. Throughout my career, I've encouraged executives to ask one simple question before approving any AI investment: how will this initiative contribute to business growth? If leadership cannot answer that question clearly, the investment may need to be reconsidered. The second category is productivity. AI should help organizations complete work faster, reduce unnecessary manual effort, improve decision speed, and eliminate operational bottlenecks. Productivity is not simply about reducing costs, it is about allowing employees to spend more time on higher value activities that strengthen customer relationships, innovation, and strategic decision making. Productivity improvements should always translate into measurable business outcomes rather than simply doing the same work more quickly. The third both categories are customer outcomes and risk management. Customer metrics might include satisfaction, retention, service quality, response times, or customer lifetime value. Risk metrics may include compliance improvements, operational errors, fraud reduction, decision quality, or business continuity. Organizations sometimes overlook these areas because they focus heavily on efficiency. However, protecting customers and reducing risk often creates significant long term financial value that is just as important as immediate productivity gains. The final category is people. Employees remain the organization's greatest competitive advantage even as AI capabilities continue to expand. Leaders should monitor employee engagement, adoption quality, collaboration, learning, decision confidence, and workforce readiness. One lesson I've learned is that organizations with engaged employees consistently generate stronger customer experiences, better operational execution, and more sustainable business growth. AI should strengthen human capability rather than simply automate human activity. Collecting metrics is only the beginning. The real value comes from presenting those metrics in a way that helps leaders make better decisions. Throughout my career, I've seen organizations invest heavily in reporting tools that generate hundreds of charts and dashboards, yet executives still struggle to answer the most important business questions. The problem is rarely a lack of data, the problem is lack of focus. An executive dashboard should simplify decision making, not complicate it. Effective dashboards begin with strategic priorities rather than available data. Every metric should answer a business question that leadership cares about. Are we growing revenue? Are customers becoming more satisfied? Are employees becoming more productive? Are operational risks decreasing? Are AI investments generating measurable returns? If a metric cannot help answer an important leadership question, it probably doesn't belong on an executive dashboard. Leaders should spend more time discussing actions than interpreting reports. One practice I recommend to executive teams is balancing leading indicators with lagging indicators on the same dashboard. Leading indicators help predict future performance, while lagging indicators confirm whether business objectives have actually been achieved. For example, employee adoption, workflow completion rates, and customer engagement may signal future success, while revenue growth, profitability, customer retention, and operational efficiency confirm that value has been realized. Viewing both together gives executives a more complete picture of organizational performance. Simplicity is another important design principle. Some executive dashboards contain more than 100 metrics, making it difficult to identify priorities quickly. In my experience, the best leadership dashboards focus on a small number of high impact measures that are reviewed consistently over time. Rather than asking leaders to interpret complex reports, dashboards should clearly highlight where performance is improving, where attention is needed, and which decisions require immediate action. Simplicity improves speed, and speed improves execution. Finally, dashboards should become part of the organization's operating rhythm. They should not be reviewed only during quarterly board meetings or annual planning sessions. High performing organizations integrate executive dashboards into regular leadership meetings, operational reviews, and investment discussions. This creates a culture where measurement supports continuous improvement rather than integrating dashboards into a culture. where typically technical metrics are always once it becomes part of organizations' operating rhythm, they should not be reviewed only during quarterly board meetings or annual planning sessions. High performing organizations integrate executive dashboards into regular leadership meetings, operational reviews, and investment discussions. This creates a culture where measurement supports continuous improvement rather than retrospective reporting. The dashboard becomes a management tool, not just a reporting tool. One of the biggest questions every executive eventually asks is, how do we know whether this AI investment was worth it? Surprisingly, many organizations struggle to answer that question clearly. They can explain what technology was implemented, how many employees are using it, and how much time has been saved. Yet, they cannot confidently explain whether the investment improved business performance. AI should never be evaluated as an isolated technology expense. It should be managed like every other strategic investment within the organization. Throughout my career, I've worked with executive teams making difficult capital allocation decisions. Whether investing in technology, acquisitions, new products, or workforce expansion, the underlying question remains the same. Where will we generate the greatest business value? AI investments should be evaluated using exactly the same discipline. Every initiative should demonstrate how it contributed to strategic priorities such as revenue growth, customer experience, operational excellence, competitive advantage, or long term resilience. One mistake I frequently observe is organizations approving AI projects independently rather than evaluating them as part of a broader business portfolio. Individual departments often pursue automation opportunities that solve local problems but create limited enterprise value. Instead, leaders should compare AI opportunities based on expected business outcomes, implementation effort, organizational readiness, financial return, and strategic importance. This shifts the conversation from which AI project should be built to which business opportunity creates the greatest value. Measuring return on investment also requires patience. Some benefits appear quickly through productivity improvements or cost reductions. Others take longer to materialize through customer loyalty, employee capability, innovation, or stronger market positioning. Leaders should establish realistic timelines for measuring value and avoid judging every initiative by short term financial returns alone. Sustainable competitive advantage is often built through a series of disciplined investments rather than one big transformational project. The organizations that consistently outperform competitors are not necessarily investing more in AI, they are investing more intelligently. They use business metrics to guide investment decisions, review outcomes regularly, discontinue initiatives that fail to create value, and reinvest in opportunities demonstrating measurable impact. AI becomes part of a disciplined growth strategy rather than a collection of disconnected technology products. That's where executive leadership creates the greatest return. Now, throughout today's session, we've discussed why organizations often measure the wrong things, how executives should think differently about AI performance, and which business outcomes deserve the greatest attention. I'd like to now bring those ideas together into a practical executive model. This is the AI revenue engine measurement framework. I developed it to help leaders shift measurement from reporting technology activity to improving business performance. Rather than asking what should we measure, the framework begins with a much more important question: what business outcome are we trying to achieve? The first step is to begin with business strategy. Every AI initiative should support a strategic objective before implementation begins. Whether the goal is increasing revenue, improving customer experience, reducing operational costs, strengthening compliance, or accelerating growth, that objective becomes the foundation for measurement. Organizations often make the mistake of selecting metrics after deployment. High performing organizations define success before implementation begins because Clear objectives create better investment decisions. The second step is to define success in business terms rather than technology terms. Instead of saying we want employees to use AI, define success as improving customer retention by 10%, reducing operational costs by 15%, shortening product development cycles, or improving decision quality. Technology enables those outcomes, but the business outcome remains the primary measures of success. This subtle shift changes how projects are managed, how teams collaborate, how leaders evaluate progress. The third step is selecting a balanced group of leading and lagging indicators. Leading indicators provide early warning signals, while lagging indicators confirm business performance. Together, they create a more complete picture of organizational health. Finally, organizations should establish a regular review process where leaders evaluate results, identify emerging opportunities, discontinue initiatives that are underperforming, and continuously refine both the AI initiative and the measurement framework. Measurement should drive learning, not simply reporting. The final step is scaling what creates value. Organizations frequently attempt to scale every successful pilot equally. I recommend a different approach. Scale the initiatives that consistently demonstrate measurable business outcomes. The AIRE measurement framework helps executives prioritize investments, improve capital allocation, strengthen governance, and continuously align AI with business strategy. Ultimately, the framework is not about building better dashboards, it is about helping leaders make better business decisions. Now, measurement is not the end of the AI journey, it is the beginning of continuous improvement. One mistake I often see is organizations treating measurement as a reporting exercise rather than a management discipline. Leaders review dashboards at the end of the quarter, celebrate positive results, discuss areas that underperformed, and then move on to the next initiative. High performing organizations take a different approach. They use every measurement cycle to improve how the business operates, how investments are prioritized, and how future decisions are made. Throughout my career, I've found that the most successful executive teams ask one question repeatedly: what did we learn? Instead of simply reporting whether targets were achieved, they examine why results differed from expectations. Was adoption slower than anticipated? Did customer behavior change? Were operational assumptions incorrect? Did one department outperform another? These conversations transform metrics into organizational learning. AI becomes a catalyst for improving leadership decisions, operational processes, and business strategy rather than simply generating performance reports. Continuous improvement also requires organizations to become comfortable making difficult decisions. Not every AI initiative will deliver the expected return. Some projects should be redesigned, others should be paused or discontinued altogether. Leaders often hesitate to stop projects because significant time and money have already been invested. However, disciplined organizations recognize that continuing to fund low value initiatives prevents resources from being invested where greater business impact can be achieved. Measurement creates confidence to make those decisions objectively. Another lesson I've learned is that organizations should reinvest in success, not simply celebrate it. When an AI initiative consistently improves revenue, customer experience, productivity, or operational performance, leaders should ask how these practices can be expanded across other business units. Continuous improvement is not only about fixing weaknesses, it is equally about scaling strengths. Organizations that systematically replicate successful capabilities create a compounding advantage over time because every successful initiative strengthens the next one. Finally, continuous improvement creates a culture of accountability. Everyone understands that AI investments are expected to produce measurable business value and that performance will be reviewed regularly. Employees begin thinking differently because success is no longer defined by implementation alone, it is defined by sustained business outcomes. In my experience, organizations that embed measurement into their operating rhythm become more agile, more disciplined, and significantly better prepared to adapt as AI technologies continue evolving. As we conclude today's masterclass, I'd like to leave you with one final perspective. AI does not create business value simply because it has been implemented. Business value is created when leaders make better decisions, improve how work gets done, strengthen customer relationships, and continuously adapt the organization as conditions change. Throughout today's discussion, we've moved beyond dashboards and technology metrics to focus on what executives ultimately care about: measurable business performance. That shift in thinking is what separates organizations that use AI from organizations that compete with AI. As you return to your own organization, I encourage you to ask one simple question before your next executive meeting. If we removed every technology metric from our dashboard, would we still know whether AI is improving our business? If the answer is no, that's your opportunity to rethink how success is measured. The organizations that win in the AI era won't be those with the most technology. They'll be the ones that measure, manage, and improve business performance better than everyone else. Here are the final takeaways for today. AI success is measured by business value, not technology activity. Every AI investment should support a clear business objective. Executive dashboards should drive decisions, not just reporting. Continuous measurement creates continuous improvement. And finally, organizations that measure better will lead better. And today's key question is, don't ask whether your AI is working, ask whether your business is performing better because of AI. That's the question every executive, board, and investor ultimately wants answered. Thank you for joining the AI Revenue Engine Masterclass series. I look forward to seeing you in our next session.